Hey folks, this is Matt once again. And, once in a while, not once in a while, quite a few times I get the notion from people, or some people, that I just hate everything. Even though I can name countless upon countless movies that I love, I can show you countless upon countless, literally hundreds of reviews that I've done on my channel of films that I love. I can name you a bunch of movies last year alone, 2014, that I loved, from John Wick to Captain America the Winter Soldier, to Edge of Tomorrow, to Guardians of the Galaxy, so on and so forth. Or even reviews I've done recently. I reviewed older films like Q the Winged Serpent and Horror of Dracula, which I enjoyed, and a newer film called Digging Up the Marrow that Adam Green directed. I still think his best film is Frozen, but Digging Up the Marrow I was surprised by and I liked. That's a film I wanted to pick up. And the reason I said all that, I mean, that was like the last review or such I did was Digging Up the Marrow. That's a film came out this year, even though it says 2014, but really it's coming out this year, that I liked. This is another film I liked, really liked. It is a film called Everly, starring Salma Hayek, directed by Joe Lynch, which he directed a Wrong Turn 2, which I liked. It's the last good Wrong Turn film, because I only liked the first two. And I reviewed all the Wrong Turn films except the last one, because I don't care about to see it, because I didn't like 3 or 4 or 5. I ranted on them, because I thought they were pieces of shit. But Joe Lynch, I thought, did a good job of Wrong Turn 2. I thought he played with the conventions a bit. You think, oh, it's the black guy and the goth girl, they're going to die. No, they're actually become the leads of the movie. That's not the only reason, but that's one of these. Okay, this guy's not following the typical formula, which I like. Then he did Knights of Badassdom, which I did not care for at all. I ranted on that. The rant is still on my channel. I know there's stories about a lot of problems that happened during post-production of that film or editing of that film. So he was 50-50 with me, Joe Lynch. I liked Wrong Turn 2. I did not like Knights of Badassdom, but I will say right here, Everly, I really enjoyed. I love the movie. I mean, granted, I haven't seen many films this year because I'm just not interested in the big Hollywood movies that are coming out. If a film interests me, it probably would be a film that's by Skin Trade with Dolph Lundgren, which I saw the new trailer to that, and that looks pretty cool. It Follows, that looks a bit interesting. It's the ones that don't get as much, won't get much of a release, to be honest. And this is one of them. And of course, I looked up and it's getting bad reviews. Just like a 30-35% of Rotten Tomatoes. It gets only like a 5.0 on IMDb. And considering a lot of newer films get super high ratings, the fact that this film 5.0, I don't understand the bad review. I don't understand why people hate this movie so much. I really don't. And you may be going, well, you're almost 4 minutes in. The film is very simple, very straightforward, but I thought it was very well done. Everly is about Salma Hayek, who years ago was kidnapped and forced to be the sex slave prostitute for this upper echelon criminal. And right off the bat, it starts out with a bang where she goes into the bathroom and she's crying and someone's banging on the door and she finds a gun. She doesn't know what she's going to do. You think she's going to kill herself. You hear a bang. You see blood. But then she goes in the room and pop, 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 pop. From her point of view, pop, pop, pop. With some practical blood effects. And the rest of the film is her. The whole film takes place in this apartment that she's in. The whole film. It never leaves this apartment. Until the very, very, technically, the very, well, yeah, the very end of the film, technically it does, but the rest of the film is completely in this apartment, which I thought was interesting. Not saying original, but it's really interesting. It's not a typical thing nowadays. I thought Joe Lynch handled the action scenes well. I understood what was going on. There was no shaky cam. There was no quick cut editing that you see in films. Olivier Megaton can take tips. Well, it's not mind-blowing. How many action films are mind-blowing nowadays? I'm not looking for mind-blowing. Well, John Wick was mind-blowing. But not every film is going to be as good as John Wick or Dredd. But I thought this was pretty damn good. And you have a lot of crazy stuff happens. I mean, before I get more into spoilers, some general thoughts on why I enjoy this film. One, Salma Hayek I thought did a really good job acting-wise. To me, this is her best role, her best performance. It's definitely my favorite performance. She was good in From Dusk Till Dawn, but she didn't have really a big role. She's the star, and I thought she did a really good job emotional-wise. I bought her. She wasn't trained in combat, expertly knowing everything, but she handled herself very well at the same time. So at times she'd be awkward holding a gun because she's not used to it, but she still handled herself well. And she did well on the acting as well. How many times do I have to say fucking well? Well, I don't get why it's shitty, according to some people. If you think it's shitty, to each their own. I don't get it. It's cliche. I didn't think it was that cliche. I haven't seen too many films like Everly. I mean, hell, there's a guy who's been shot in the stomach from the beginning, and he tells about how he feels bad about what happened. And of course, like her, you don't really buy it. But by halfway through the film, you grow, at least I'll speak for myself, I grow a little bit of a attachment to the guy. I thought the guy, considering he's a guy who can't move, who's been shot in the stomach, is slowly bleeding to death, I actually grew a little bit of attachment to the guy. I thought that was handled very well. And her only name she calls him is Dead Man. You have stuff, it was a fast pace, without the end credits, about an hour and 25 minutes. And it's people coming from all sides trying to get into a building to attack her. Her wanting to get in contact with her mother and her child to protect them so that they don't go after them, and to get them this money so they can start a new life. And she talks about how she knows she's going to die today, but she wants her family safe. The cops are bought off. And it kept me interested. It had a good sense of humor to it. Has some nice bloody moments. It's definitely an R-rated film. So, good leading lady, fast pace, without the end credits, 80-some minutes long. It's not that long at all, so it was never boring to me. It's cool that, okay, it's going to take place in one apartment. It's never going to leave it. R-rated, bloody. Some interesting stuff that they put in there that, because of Joe Lynch, I'm like, this reminds me of the Joe Lynch that did Wrong Turn 2. Not the Joe Lynch that did Knights of Badassdom. And people who hate it talk about it's like a video game. Then it's a better video game movie than most video game movies. I'll take this video game movie. I mean, technically you would say The Raid Redemption is like a video game. Go into the building, kick everyone's ass, go up each level. Dredd is like a video game. Go in. Go each level till you get to the top boss. Mama. Maybe they shouldn't make movies on video games, because those are the video game movies that are good. And I'm the type of guy that likes some. Like Mortal Kombat video game movie I like. Yes, I like Doom. Guilty as charged. But yeah, if people want to say, well, it sucks because it's like a video game, I say that's a plus for me. That's a plus. I'll take that. I'll take that. I don't really have many problems. The only problem I could say is there's a couple times that things are too convenient, which maybe I'll get to when I talk more spoilers. Like, there are a couple instances, oh, the lead bad guy, he's talking a little bit too long when he should be doing something else. You know, those, I'll give you those, whether you want to call it cliche, whether you want to call it, I call it, what the hell did I just call it? Convenience. There's a couple times that's just a little too convenient. And that's the only thing, because I don't think the acting was bad. The acting wasn't bad. Salma Hayek was great. The score was a pretty decent score. Kept at a fast pace. I never got bored. I would gladly pick this up when it comes out on DVD. I would love to have this in my DVD collection. Or Blu-ray collection. I thought Joe Lynch did a pretty competent job with the action. Really, the other films he's done were not really action films. This is his first action film. I thought for his first action film, he actually did a pretty damn good job. I would like to see Joe Lynch do more action films. Please do. I'll take this over Robert Rodriguez's last couple films. I'll take this over Predators. I'll take this, which I know he didn't direct, but fucking Nimrod. That was the director's name, Nimrod. I'll take this over Sin City 2. Like, this is the stuff that Robert Rodriguez, when he was worth a shit, would direct. This is the kind of movie Robert Rodriguez would have directed in his prime, in the From Dusk Till Dawn days. I really enjoy this film. I don't understand the hate for it. And to talk about it more, I gotta go into spoilers. So, go into spoilers now. But I would recommend the film. For me, personally, I enjoy it. If you watch the trailer and you like the trailer, I would say give it a watch. I really enjoyed it. But get more into spoilers. I gotta talk about this film. I gotta talk about with spoilers. Like I was saying, it really starts off with a bang, because you think she killed herself and she just pops people. Pop, 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 pop. And one of the guys she pops is a guy who talks about how, you know, he didn't really want to do it. He did out of fear of the boss, and she's like, that's no excuse, which is true. But there's like little stuff. Oh, I want a drink, and she gives him a drink, and she had gotten bit, and she looks at him and says, oh, you think that's funny? And takes the straw away from him, and he kind of looks at it there, sort of sullen, like, oh. But the guy, the best that he can, because he's stuck on a couch, tries to help her out, whether it be verbal-wise or so on. And he's a guy who is just named Dead Man, who can't move because he's been shot, so probably get the idea he probably went through his spine, so he can't move except his head. Got an emotional attachment to him. What's a moment I could give about the sense of humor? There's an attacked dog, and she gets a grenade, says, ball, fetch. The dog runs off, and the guy runs off. No, that's not a ball. And pooh, practical explosion. So giving an attacked dog a grenade, you have other prostitutes that try to kill her with a fucking sigh. And was she able to get the girl down, and one of the hilts of the sigh goes right up through her cheek, the girl's cheek. The blood flows. I mean, there's a scene where Salma Hayek throws a grenade into an elevator after she shotguns a guy and blows up as the elevator doors close, and you see this stream of blood fly off onto the floor. You have these two crazy guys with there's a crazy guy, one's called the sadist, and then he has this guy in this contraption called the sadist and the masochist. And the masochist is hard to kill him. She keeps shooting him, he won't stay down. And like the sadist has these things to do with acid. And then it has these guards that they look weird. They look like, you know, the things in Big Trouble in Little China that was coming after Jack Burton, and he goes, oh shit, and he had the knife, and he stuck the knife in them, and he couldn't get the guy off. They kind of look like those, with the mask and such. And hell, that guy gets his ending by getting acid poured down his throat, and his throat's melting. You have... There's a moment where SWAT guys are coming in. She's hiding in the floorboard. She rises up, shoots a guy, goes right through his goggles. Practical, shoots him right in the fucking eyeball. There's a lot of fun stuff in this movie. I mean, it really kept going for me. I mean, when I said the problems about convenience, what I meant by that is, for example, there's a scene where she's stuck in this contraption from the sadist, and he's testing the acid. So he tests it on one thing of her rope that's by her hand. And then her mom comes in and shoots and does this. And I think it's convenient that he tested it on her rope that she was binding on one of her arms, and not, well, I'm going to test it and put it on the floor, or I'm going to put it on this, or on the cabinet, or something like that. Or there's a moment where the bad guy at the end, who has a samurai sword, could kill her, but he just keeps talking and threatening her, scaring her, turns her around, could kill her, but says, oh, well, I thought you loved me, I'm going to take my tattoo back that's on your back, and he starts cutting into her, and then she's able to fight back on him, which he gets a really cool kill, because she stabs him with the sword. She's here, he's coming from behind, stabs him with the sword, and then twists it. I like the twisting. And then it comes up, whew, and the guy, I love that. I'm like, definitely bloody. And then I love the way it ends. I like the score. I mean, I say it's a pretty decent score, and I do like the score. And the cops come in, the good cops take the kid out. You think Everly's dead because you hear a flat line, and then you hear beep, 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 and you hear a gasp. So, okay, cool, she's alive. And weirdly enough, this is, again, it's that tradition of movies which the titles are the name of a person, or the title character. John Wick, Dredd, Everly, Rambo. It's weird. I mean, it's not on doing that on purpose, but it is one of those things, though. So I thought or like little stuff, for example, earlier in the film, she was talking about how this cop was going to help her. She never got a call back, and then the bad guy calls, oh, I left you a present. She gets a present. She opens it up. It's the cop's head with a badge in his mouth. It's my head in a box instead of dick in a box. Or trying to get her mom and kid there because she can't get out because the dirty cops are there, and the dirty cops take her and put her right back in the room for her to stay there until, I guess, the boss gets there, or I guess so you think. And when they're coming over, the guy on the couch says, well, I guess you better clean up, and she looks around, the room's bloody, and she goes, oh shit. And just the montage of her having to clean up the room before her kid and the mom gets there. I thought all the acting was, I've said that already, the acting, fast paced. When the action's there, I thought the action worked well. I thought it had some good emotional moments. The scene where her mom dies, and then she hears the phone and the guy talking, and the music rising up, and Salma Hayek being badass, taking the gun, just sort of her act of defiance, just shooting. Sort of her standing up for herself and not being afraid, or act of defiance against this guy who's been watching her the whole time from across the street for the show. And this film just really appealed to me. And this film, of course, I mean, hell, Cobra, Hard Target, these films got bad reviews back in the day. So it makes sense that Everly gets bad reviews. Maybe it does make sense. But this film doesn't deserve the bad reviews. It doesn't deserve the low rating. I disagree wholeheartedly. I could go more in depth, but if after 20 minutes, if people still don't like the film, oh well. If this is still doesn't get anyone to see the film, oh well. I really enjoyed it. It's my favorite film of the year so far. I was impressed by Everly. I don't get the hate. I don't get the why I get shit on. I never will. But hey, oh well. I thought Everly was a lot of fun. Oh my god, an R-rated fun action movie. Shame on me. But either way, that's just my thoughts on Everly. Thanks for watching. Take care. And we'll see you later. Bye-bye.